oldest part of the galaxy, beyond the glow of young suns, there was a place known as the Archive of the First Light. It was not made of metal or stone. It was made of memory, layered upon the minds of the elder race. The elders were the first to awaken in the galaxy. They had watched countless species rise and fall. They had seen empires turn to dust and stars collapse into silence. Their knowledge was deep, and their patience was endless. The elders were not a single body but a great council of thought. When they spoke, their words carried across the stars as waves of energy that could be felt in the hearts of those who listened. One day, after 1,000 years of silence, they gathered again. Their light dimmed as they spoke of what they had seen in the flow of time. They had watched a small blue world far from the galactic core. Its people were young and divided. They fought, built, destroyed, and rebuilt. They had no starships, no great machines, and no unity. Yet the elders saw something inside them that none of the great empires possessed. It was not power. It was not knowledge. It was something else entirely. The elders saw fire in their spirit. They saw a drive that would never stop, even in the face of defeat. It was a will that could not be broken. The oldest among the elders, known as the Speaker of the Dawn, rose within the circle of light. His voice was slow and calm, but it filled every corner of the archive. He said that a race would soon rise from the darkness of that blue world. They would spread across the stars. They would face every obstacle and nothing would stop them. Not fear, not loss, not the endless cold of space. He warned that once they reached the stars, no empire could turn them back. The other elders listened, but many were uncertain. The idea seemed foolish. The galaxy was full of powerful civilizations. There were species that controlled black holes, species that could bend time, species that had lived for millions of years. How could a young and divided race rise above them all? The speaker did not argue. He simply said that the others had grown comfortable. They had forgotten struggle. They had forgotten the hunger to reach beyond limits. The blue world had not. Its people were still learning, still fighting to survive, still hungry to explore. That hunger, he said, would carry them farther than any other race had gone. The elders recorded his words in the deepest part of the archive. The warning was sent out as a message through the stars, carried by ancient probes and light signals. It was simple. It said, "Beware the race born in struggle. They will rise when all others sleep. When they come, no wall will stand before them." The message drifted for ages. It reached the empires of the galaxy one by one. The Council of Worlds, the Dominion Lords, the trade unions, and the League of Scholars all received the warning. They read it, studied it, and laughed. Some called it a myth. Others called it a mistake in translation. A few scholars thought it was a story meant to teach humility, nothing more. No one took it as truth. Centuries passed. The elders grew quiet again. They watched as the younger species continued to build their grand fleets and trade routes. The galaxy was peaceful for a time. Wars were small and borders were steady. Most worlds had forgotten the words of the warning. Only a few old records in remote archives still held copies of the message. One day, a historian named Raylan found an ancient crystal record in a forgotten library on the world of Orcs. He was a scholar from a minor species that loved to study lost things. The record glowed faintly when he touched it. Inside was the voice of the Speaker of the Dawn. Raylan listened to the old words, and though he did not fully understand, the message gave him unease. He showed it to his peers, but they smiled and told him he was chasing old myths. No one cared about prophecies. The galaxy believed it was too advanced for such ideas. Raylan placed the crystal back in the archive and left it there. Yet for nights afterward, he could not stop thinking about that blue world mentioned in the message. He searched for records of it, but the data was unclear. Many star charts were missing. It was as if the system was hidden by time itself. In another corner of the galaxy, far from Orcs, a group of traders spoke in a smoky tavern. They shared tales of a new species that had begun to appear in the outer sectors. They were said to come from a world called Earth. The traders said their ships looked rough and simple, built from materials no one else used. Yet these ships traveled fast and could adapt to any condition. Few believed these rumors, but they spread slowly across the stars, carried by whispers. The elders heard these whispers too. Those few who still remained active began to feel the stirring of the old vision. They remembered the warning. They knew the time was near. The Speaker of the Dawn had faded long ago, but his final words were still held in their minds. He had said that the first sign would not be war. It would be curiosity. The race would not begin with conquest, but with a desire to see what lay beyond their own sky. Back on Earth, humanity was indeed reaching out. They had fought many wars among themselves, but now their eyes turned upward. Their technology was still limited compared to the great empires of the galaxy, but their progress was relentless. They built ships from what they had. They learned to travel farther each year. They sent signals not knowing that someone might be listening, and someone was. A small elder probe drifted through the outer edge of the Sol system. It had been asleep for thousands of years, waiting for a sign. When it detected the first radio waves from Earth, it woke. Its sensors scanned the planet and confirmed what the prophecy had said. The world was covered in life, struggle, and creation. The probe sent one final signal back to the remaining elders. The message was short. It said, "They are here." The elders gathered once more, fewer now than ever before. Their light was dim, their voices weaker, but they spoke again. One of them asked if they should warn the galaxy once more. The eldest replied that they already had. The galaxy did not listen then, and it would not listen now. He said that sometimes the truth must be lived before it can be believed. On the world of Orcs, the scholar Raylan found strange data appearing on long-range sensors. Ships from the outer sectors were disappearing. Trade routes were being mapped again because of new visitors. Reports spoke of humans who traded fairly, learned quickly, and adapted to any situation. Raylan felt a chill when he heard the name. He went back to the old library and found the crystal once again. He played it, and the old voice of the speaker filled the room. This time the words seemed to come alive. "Beware the race born in struggle. They will rise when all others sleep." Raylan realized that the old warning was not myth. It was history waiting to happen. He sent a message to the Council of Worlds, but they did not respond. To them, humans were only another minor species not worth their time. Yet the reports kept growing. Human settlements appeared on distant moons. Human ships traveled through dangerous space lanes where no one dared to go. They made friends with species the Council had ignored for centuries. The pattern was clear, though few saw it. The elders watched and waited. They did not act. They did not interfere. They only observed as humanity took its first steps into the galactic stage. The galaxy remained proud and confident, believing that nothing could threaten the old order. But the elders knew better. They had seen the rise of empires before. They knew that strength alone was not what shaped destiny. It was the will to endure, to rebuild, and to rise again after every fall. As the last lights of the archive of the first light flickered, one elder spoke softly into the void. His voice carried through the network of old probes that still drifted between stars. It was not a threat. It was not a promise. It was a truth. He said, "When they come, they will not stop. They will not ask for permission. They will not need guidance. They will move forward because they must." The stars above the galaxy shone brightly that night as if listening. The message had been sent again, not as a warning this time, but as a reminder. The race that the elders had seen was awakening. The galaxy did not yet understand what that meant, but soon it would. And when it did, the words of the elders would no longer be prophecy. They would be reality. Far across the silent reaches of space, a small human ship left the orbit of Mars, engines burning faintly. Inside, a crew of explorers looked out at the endless stars and smiled. They did not know that countless eyes were watching them. They did not know that ancient beings had spoken of them ages ago. They only knew that the stars were waiting. The first human ships entered known galactic space quietly. There were no great fleets or banners of conquest. The vessels were small and built from steel, not the shining alloys of the advanced races. They moved slowly but with purpose. Every scanner that detected them showed the same strange pattern. Their designs were primitive, yet their energy readings were powerful and stable. The humans had learned how to make the most of everything they had. The first recorded contact took place near the border of the trade unions. A merchant convoy noticed an unknown signal coming from a nearby asteroid belt. When they investigated, they found a small ship with markings they did not recognize. Its hull was scratched and dark from travel, but it still moved with strength. The humans sent a simple message through open channels. It said they came in peace and wished to trade knowledge. The traders were cautious. They had seen many young species before, most of them desperate or reckless. Yet these humans seemed calm and direct. They spoke in clear patterns. They offered minerals and tools that looked rough but functioned better than expected. The traders laughed at first, but when they tested the goods, they were surprised. The human metal alloys were not elegant, but they were strong and adaptable. Their energy cells worked even under conditions that destroyed normal equipment. News of this meeting spread quickly. Within weeks, many other races began to hear of the newcomers from the Blue World. The Council of Worlds called for reports. The Dominion Empire sent scouts to observe. The League of Scholars requested data for study. Everyone wanted to understand who these humans were and how they had arrived so far with such basic technology. On Earth, the discovery of alien life had caused both fear and excitement. Governments and companies united for the first time in history to support exploration. Scientists worked day and night to learn alien languages and decode signals. The people of Earth understood that they were no longer alone. Instead of hiding, they reached out with curiosity and determination. They wanted to meet their new neighbors face to face. A fleet of small ships was formed under the banner of the United Terran Effort. It was not a military fleet. It was made of explorers, engineers, and diplomats. They called their mission the Horizon Path. The name came from an old saying that every horizon was just the beginning of another journey. The humans carried messages of friendship, samples of their technology, and promises of trade. The first meeting between humans and the Council of Worlds took place on the station called Radiance Spire. It was a shining city in orbit around a golden star. The station's halls were filled with light and color. Species from every part of the galaxy walked there. When the human delegation arrived, many stared at them. They were smaller, denser, and their bodies seemed fragile compared to the towering alien forms. Yet their eyes were bright and their steps were firm. The leader of the human team was a woman named Mara. She was calm and respectful, speaking in simple words that carried confidence. When she stood before the council, she thanked them for the opportunity to meet and said humanity sought peace and understanding. The council members listened politely. They saw humans as interesting but unimportant. To them, Earth was only one more young world among thousands. After the meeting, some council representatives laughed in private. They said humans were naive to think they could survive in a galaxy ruled by ancient powers. Others thought humanity could be useful as a minor trade partner. Only one member, a scholar from the League, watched them closely. His name was Varen. He remembered the old records of the Elders' warning. He saw something in the humans that the others did not. Their movements, their focus, and their refusal to show fear reminded him of those ancient words. While diplomacy continued, human explorers spread outward. They visited small colonies and mining worlds that the great powers had forgotten. They helped repair old machines and shared simple but clever tools that improved production. In return, they learned about alien materials and star maps. Wherever they went, they made allies. Their honesty and persistence impressed the smaller species, who had long lived under the control of stronger empires. In one mining sector, a group of human engineers repaired an old reactor that had been broken for 50 years. The miners watched as the humans worked with limited tools using teamwork and creativity. When the reactor came back online, the miners cheered. They began to call the humans builders of hope. Word of this reached even the outer rim of the galaxy. Humans gained a reputation as problem solvers who never gave up, but not everyone was pleased. The Dominion Empire, which ruled many systems through force, began to see humans as a threat. They believed that the new species was spreading influence too quickly. Dominion leaders were proud and believed no one could challenge their control. They sent spies to study Earth and learn its weaknesses. The reports they received were confusing. The spies wrote that humans had no unified empire. Their governments argued and competed. Their technology was behind by centuries, yet somehow they achieved more than species with far greater resources. Dominion strategists could not understand how this was possible. They assumed that humanity's rise would soon slow down, but it did not. Within 10 years, humans had built stations near the borders of the Dominion. They opened trade routes, offered fair deals, and won the trust of nearby colonies. Even Dominion citizens began to buy human goods. Human machines were cheap and durable, and their food supplies grew in the harshest environments. The Dominion's leaders grew angry. They ordered their fleets to restrict human ships, claiming they violated border laws. When the first human vessel was stopped, its captain refused to turn back. His name was Aaron. He explained calmly that his ship was on a peaceful mission and would not cause harm. The Dominion commander warned him again. Aaron answered that humans never broke agreements but also never accepted threats. The commander ordered a warning shot, but the human ship held position. It activated a defense field designed by human scientists that absorbed the energy without damage. The Dominion ship's crew was shocked. The human ship then sent a message, saying they would leave peacefully but would remember the act. The incident caused a wave of attention. The Council of Worlds called for investigation, but the Dominion dismissed it. They believed the humans were bluffing, yet in secret, Dominion scientists began to study the human defense system, trying to learn how such a small ship could resist a high-energy weapon. The more they studied, the more confused they became. Human technology did not follow galactic logic. It was built from ideas no one else had tried. It worked through adaptation and redundancy, not perfection. Every piece could fail, yet the whole system would survive. Meanwhile, human expansion continued. New colonies appeared on empty worlds. These worlds were not rich, but humans made them thrive. They built homes, planted crops, and created communities. They did not rely on luxury or advanced tools. They relied on effort. Other species watched in disbelief. To them, such harsh conditions would mean failure. To humans, they were only challenges to overcome. At the same time, cultural exchange grew. Humans learned alien languages quickly and taught their own in return. They shared music, art, and stories of their past. Many species were fascinated by human history, filled with struggle and renewal. They began to understand what made humanity different. While others sought comfort, humans sought purpose. The elders who still lived in hidden places saw all of this. They spoke quietly among themselves, saying that the first phase of the prophecy had begun. The humans had reached the stars and were spreading faster than anyone expected. The elders did not interfere. They knew that the galaxy must learn by experience. One day, Scholar Varen visited Earth. He came to study the humans directly. When he walked among them, he saw what the elders had seen long ago. The people were not united by a single ruler or belief, but they were united by their drive. Every human he met was busy working on something. Some built ships, others studied new energy sources, and many explored ideas that seemed impossible. Varen returned to the council with a report saying that humanity should be treated with respect. He warned that if they were ignored, the balance of the galaxy could change. The council read his report but chose not to act. They believed the Dominion would handle the humans if they became troublesome. The Dominion did not wait long. They planned a test. They sent a small war fleet to block human trade routes. They expected humans to retreat or negotiate for safety. Instead, the humans sent a single message to the Dominion admiral. It said, "We seek peace, but we do not yield." The Dominion ignored the warning and advanced. When the battle began, the Dominion had every advantage. Their ships were larger, faster, and armed with advanced weapons. Yet the humans fought with surprising tactics. They used asteroids as shields and drew the enemy into narrow fields of fire. Their ships were hit many times, but their systems adapted. Damaged engines were repaired mid-battle. Crews worked together without panic. The Dominion admiral was forced to retreat after heavy losses. The galaxy could not believe the report. A small human fleet had faced the Dominion and survived. It was the first sign that humanity was not like the others. The council ordered. The defeat of the Dominion fleet by a small group of human ships shook the galaxy. No one expected it. The Council of Worlds demanded answers, but the Dominion refused to speak. They claimed the reports were exaggerated and that the humans had used tricks, not skill. Yet everyone knew something had changed. For the first time in centuries, the Dominion had been forced to retreat. In the great halls of the Dominion capital, the Emperor sat in silence. Around him stood his advisors, proud and loyal. They spoke of honor and power, of the need to crush the humans before their reputation grew stronger. The Emperor agreed. He declared that humanity was to be taught a lesson. The Dominion would gather a fleet large enough to erase the human presence from their borders. Messages were sent to the admirals. Factories began to produce weapons at full speed. The Empire prepared for war. While this happened, the humans continued to expand quietly. They built new stations near unclaimed systems and formed alliances with small independent colonies. These colonies had lived under the shadow of the great powers for too long. When humans arrived, they found hope. The humans traded fairly, offered protection, and treated them as equals. In return, the colonies shared their knowledge and resources. Together, they built a network of worlds that supported each other. Captain Aaron, the same man who had once faced the Dominion blockade, now commanded a small defense fleet. He knew that war might come, but he hoped it could be avoided. He sent peaceful messages to the Dominion, offering dialogue. None were answered. Instead, Dominion warships began to gather at the border. The first clash was only days away. The Council of Worlds tried to calm the situation. They sent envoys to both sides. The humans agreed to meet, but the Dominion refused. The Dominion believed that showing weakness would destroy their image of strength. The Council finally gave up. They decided to remain neutral, thinking the Dominion would win quickly and restore order. Many believed humanity would vanish as fast as it had appeared. When the Dominion fleet entered human space, it was the largest force assembled in decades. Hundreds of warships advanced together, their engines glowing bright. They carried soldiers, drones, and heavy weapons. The commanders were confident. They expected a short battle followed by surrender. The first target was a mining world called Eris, one of the newest human colonies. The humans on Eris refused to abandon their homes. They built defenses from mining machines and turned cargo ships into fighters. Captain Aaron arrived with a few small warships to help. He knew the odds were terrible, but he did not speak of fear. He told his crew that they would hold the line as long as they could. When the Dominion arrived, the sky above Eris turned red with fire. The Dominion opened fire from orbit. Their weapons tore through the outer defenses. Human ships were hit again and again, but they did not retreat. They used the asteroids around Eris as cover and fought back with precision. Each shot they fired was aimed carefully. They destroyed a few Dominion vessels before being overwhelmed. Yet even in defeat, they caused heavy losses. The Dominion commander was furious. He ordered his troops to destroy everything on the surface. The people of Eris hid in underground shelters. Dominion soldiers landed and marched through the ruins searching for survivors. They expected surrender. Instead, they found traps, tunnels, and resistance. The miners of Eris used their knowledge of the terrain to fight back. They cut power lines, collapsed tunnels, and attacked from shadows. For every human lost, 10 Dominion soldiers fell. The commander soon realized that the battle was not going as planned. Captain Aaron's ship was damaged beyond repair, but he refused to leave. He transmitted one last message before his vessel fell silent. He said, "We hold not because we are stronger, but because we must." The signal spread across human networks and became a symbol of courage. The Dominion finally took the planet after weeks of fighting, but it was a hollow victory. Their army had lost more than half its strength, and the humans had already evacuated most civilians to nearby systems. News of the battle spread across the galaxy. For the first time, other species began to doubt the Dominion's power. The Council of Worlds demanded a ceasefire, but the Dominion ignored them. They believed the only way to save their pride was complete victory. They prepared to attack again, sending a second fleet toward the human colony of Vega Reach. This time, humanity was ready. They had studied every detail of the first battle and learned from their losses. Engineers worked day and night to upgrade their ships. They used parts from damaged vessels, creating designs that no one had seen before. Their weapons were simple but effective. Their armor was thick and layered. Every ship was built to survive, even when heavily damaged. They called this new fleet the Iron Line. When the Dominion fleet arrived at Vega Reach, they faced a different enemy. Human ships did not form straight lines or standard formations. They moved unpredictably, using gravity fields and solar flares to their advantage. They lured the Dominion into traps, forcing them to waste energy and ammunition. The Dominion commanders became confused. Their strategies, used successfully for centuries, no longer worked. The humans adapted to every move within minutes. The battle lasted 3 days. When it ended, half the Dominion fleet was gone. The rest fled back to their borders. The humans had won, but at a cost. Many ships were lost and entire crews were gone. Yet even in grief, humanity grew stronger. They rebuilt again, faster than before. They shared every lesson learned, every new tactic with all their colonies. For humans, loss was not an end. It was another step forward. Across the galaxy, the elders watched in silence. They saw the prophecy unfold exactly as foretold. The younger races began to whisper about humanity. They said the humans were unstoppable not because of their power, but because of their spirit. The trade unions sent ambassadors to open relations. The League of Scholars requested human teachers to study their methods. Slowly, alliances began to form. The Dominion, humiliated and desperate, called for total war. They gathered their remaining fleets and merged them into one armada. The Emperor himself commanded it. He vowed to erase the human name from every star map. As his ships moved forward, they darkened the skies of entire systems. The galaxy waited, holding its breath. The humans knew they could not face such numbers directly. Instead, they turned to strategy. Small groups of ships struck supply lines, disabling fuel depots and communication relays. Civilian colonies volunteered to help. Farmers turned their cargo ships into decoys. Students became signal analysts, tracking enemy movements. Every human did something to help the effort. It was not a war of conquest. It was survival. In one daring move, human forces attacked a Dominion command hub located inside a gas giant. No one had ever fought in such a place. The pressure and storms would crush normal ships, but the humans modified their vessels to handle it. They descended into the storms and launched their attack. The Dominion never expected it. The command hub exploded, cutting off half the enemy fleet from communication. The humans withdrew with heavy losses, but their mission was a success. It was proof that they could strike anywhere and survive. The Council of Worlds could no longer stay silent. They called an emergency session. Many argued that humanity should be protected, not destroyed. Others feared that if humans won, no one could control them. The debate lasted for days. Finally, the Council voted to demand peace. The Dominion ignored the order once again. The Emperor said he would never bow to a race of primitives. The final battle came near a dying star known as Charon's End. The Dominion Armada arrived first, filling space with thousands of warships. The human fleet was smaller, scattered across the system. On sensors, it looked like a hopeless situation. But when the battle began, the Dominion realized too late that the humans had turned the star itself into a weapon. They had placed energy reflectors across the system, capturing the light of solar flares and directing it at the enemy. The star erupted, blinding sensors and disabling shields. Human ships moved through the chaos like shadows, striking again and again. The Dominion fleet broke apart. Some ships crashed into each other. Others tried to flee but were caught in the storm of energy. The Emperor's flagship was destroyed when a solar surge tore through its hull. The remaining Dominion vessels surrendered or fled. The war was over. The humans did not celebrate with arrogance. They mourned their dead and began rebuilding the systems destroyed by war. They helped repair even the Dominion colonies that had suffered. Many could not understand this act of mercy. The Dominion survivors expected revenge, but the humans offered aid. It was their way. They believed victory meant responsibility. The Council of Worlds met again and declared humanity an official member of the galactic community. Even those who once doubted them now showed respect. Scholar Varen stood before the assembly and spoke the words of the elders once more. He said the warning was not a threat. It was a truth. The race born in struggle has risen, and nothing could resist them. The galaxy changed that day. The Dominion no longer ruled with fear. The smaller species found courage. The elders, watching from afar, closed the archive of the first light for the last time. Their prophecy had been fulfilled. After the great battle at Charon's End, the galaxy was changed forever. Humanity had proven that their will could not be broken, but not all species had accepted this truth. Many of the older empires were proud and unwilling to bow to the new order. Among them, a council of the largest civilizations gathered. They called themselves the United Stellar Alliance. Their leaders believed that the humans had grown too powerful and needed to be tested. They decided that the only way to control the future was to confront humanity with all their combined strength. The decision was made in a floating citadel near the core of the galaxy. Massive towers of shimmering crystal and steel rose above the planet below. Delegates from over 100 species filled the halls. Their voices were loud and commanding. Each species had its own fleet, armed with weapons capable of destroying entire worlds. They believed that their combined fleets could overwhelm humanity. The plan was simple: strike first, strike hard, and show the humans that no one could challenge the old powers of the galaxy. In their colonies, humans continued their work quietly. They had no idea that an armada was being assembled against them. On Earth, people were exploring new planets, building stations, and connecting colonies into networks of trade and knowledge. Their technology improved rapidly, but their greatest strength remained their spirit. Humans never stopped, never gave up, and never doubted that they could overcome any challenge. Captain Mara led the fleet of human defense forces. She had survived countless battles, yet she remained calm, observing every report and chart that came from the colonies. When the first scouts of the United Stellar Alliance appeared near the edge of human space, she did not panic. Instead, she prepared. Every fleet, every ship, and every colony was ready to act in coordination. Humans had learned to expect the unexpected, and they had trained to respond instantly. The first contact came near the Vega Expanse, a region of dense asteroid fields and unstable stars. Alliance scouts were the first to arrive, signaling for parley. Mara responded, sending a message that humans sought peace but would defend themselves if attacked. The Alliance commanders ignored her and moved forward. They believed their combined fleets would be too much for a scattered human defense to withstand. When the battle began, it was unlike any seen before. Human ships moved with coordination and speed that the Alliance had not predicted. They used the terrain of asteroid fields, magnetic storms, and radiation belts to their advantage. Simple human ships, small and seemingly fragile, moved through massive Alliance warships with precision. Each attack was planned and executed with skill that came not from advanced technology alone, but from careful observation, teamwork, and courage. The Alliance fleet underestimated the humans. Their weapons were powerful, but they were designed for standard tactics. Humans did not fight with standard tactics. They adapted instantly to every change in the battlefield. When one path was blocked, they used another. When a ship was damaged, the crew repaired it under fire. When a weapon failed, they replaced it with another, using ingenuity rather than brute strength. The first day of battle ended with massive losses for the Alliance. Hundreds of ships had been destroyed and communication relays were disabled. The commanders were furious. They had never faced an enemy that could absorb so much damage and continue to fight. They called for reinforcements, sending additional fleets into the Vega Expanse. The galaxy watched in disbelief. On Earth, humans were not celebrating. They mourned those who had fallen and repaired their ships. Every human colony contributed. Farmers loaded cargo ships with supplies for the fleet. Engineers built new weapons and defenses. Scientists found ways to improve energy shields and engines. The work was continuous and everyone understood their part. Humans had learned that survival depended on unity and effort. The second day of battle began with the arrival of the reinforcements from the United Stellar Alliance. They hoped to crush the humans with sheer numbers. Their fleets surrounded the Vega Expanse, creating a wall of fire and steel. Mara observed their movements carefully. She did not fear the numbers. She knew that humans had another advantage: adaptability. Human ships moved unpredictably, splitting into small groups that struck weak points in the Alliance formation. They used solar flares to blind sensors, asteroid fields to hide movement, and gravity anomalies to redirect enemy weapons. Alliance commanders were forced to change strategies continuously, but every new plan failed. Humans adapted faster than they could respond. Each battle taught them something new, and every colony contributed resources and intelligence. By the third day, the Alliance realized that they were losing control. Their fleets were being destroyed at an alarming rate. Communication between their commanders began to fail. Sensors were disrupted and ships became lost in asteroid fields and storms. The humans did not chase retreating fleets. Instead, they focused on protecting their colonies and supply lines, knowing that strength came from preservation as much as attack. The greatest moment came near the center of the Vega Expanse, where the Alliance had concentrated its most powerful vessels. The humans had prepared for this moment. They deployed energy reflectors and magnetic disruptors around the battlefield. When the Alliance ships advanced, their weapons were absorbed, redirected, or disabled. Human ships moved silently through the chaos, striking where the enemy was weakest. It was here that the galaxy saw the true meaning of the Elder's warning. The humans were unstoppable not because of numbers or weapons, but because of their will. Every setback was a lesson. Every loss was a step forward. Every challenge was met with determination. The fleets of the United Stellar Alliance, the combined power of hundreds of civilizations, began to break apart. Ships collided with each other in confusion. Massive vessels drifted powerless in the void. Signals from the Alliance command hub fell silent. Mara stood on the bridge of her flagship watching the final moments unfold. She did not rejoice in destruction. She gave orders to aid survivors, both human and alien. She understood that victory was not about destruction, but about survival, learning, and responsibility. The galaxy had seen what humans could do when they refused to give up. When the battle ended, entire fleets of the United Stellar Alliance had been neutralized. The galaxy fell silent. No one had expected the humans to overcome such overwhelming odds. Worlds that had once mocked humanity now sent messages of surrender and cooperation. Colonies that had been oppressed by the old empires began to reach out to humans for aid. The balance of power in the galaxy had shifted in a single week of combat. The elders, watching from hidden corners of space, observed the outcome. Their prophecy had been fulfilled in a way that even they could not have fully imagined. Humanity had not only survived, but had proven that the will to endure could surpass any weapon or strategy. The warning sent centuries ago had been ignored, but now it rang true across the stars. Scholar Varen returned to the Council of Worlds to report the events. He spoke of the courage, strategy, and determination of the humans. His voice was calm, but every word carried weight. The other species listened in shock. Some were angry, some fearful, and some inspired. For the first time, the Council understood that the humans were not just another species. They were a force unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. Human colonies began to rebuild the systems destroyed by the conflict. They provided food, medical aid, and technology to every species affected. Even former enemies were helped, for the humans believed that survival meant cooperation and learning, not revenge. The galaxy slowly realized that humanity's strength was not in domination, but in the relentless pursuit of improvement and protection of life. Across the void, human ships continued to move outward. Each fleet carried not just weapons or supplies, but the spirit of determination. Every crew member understood that their actions were not for conquest, but for survival and progress. The galaxy could no longer ignore humanity. Every species had learned a lesson that would never be forgotten. The race born in struggle could not be stopped. As night fell over distant worlds, humans looked up at the stars. They did not celebrate victory. They prepared for the next step, knowing that challenges would come again. Yet their confidence was quiet and steady, built on experience, knowledge, and will. They had faced the impossible and survived. The stars themselves seemed to shine with a new light, as if acknowledging the strength of humanity. In the quiet corners of space, the elders sent a final signal to the galaxy. It was a simple message, but it carried the weight of centuries. The race born in struggle has risen. Nothing can resist their will. Across thousands of systems, the words echoed. They were not a threat, but a truth. The galaxy had learned what the elders had known all along. Humanity was unstoppable. Even in the hearts of the old empires, fear and respect began to grow. They understood that the humans could survive any battle, overcome any obstacle, and rise again when others would have fallen. The lesson was clear. The galaxy could no longer assume that power alone decided destiny. Determination, unity, and courage could surpass even the greatest weaponry. The galaxy had never been so quiet. After the great battle of the Vega Expanse, the fleets of the United Stellar Alliance were shattered. The worlds they controlled had begun to communicate with humanity, seeking guidance, aid, and protection. The vast empires that had once ruled the stars with absolute power now faced a force they could not understand, a force that could not be resisted. Humanity had risen from the blue planet Earth, and now their influence stretched across countless systems. Captain Mara stood on the bridge of the flagship Horizon, watching as human engineers coordinated repairs across a cluster of newly liberated colonies. Every signal from the colonies brought news of reconstruction, of lives saved, and of hope restored. Humans had learned long ago that survival was not enough. They had to build, to restore, and to guide. They did not seek conquest. They did not seek glory. They sought to ensure that life and civilization could thrive even in the harshest conditions. The Dominion Empire, now humbled, had sent envoys to discuss terms. Their fleets were weak, their morale low, and their leadership uncertain. The Emperor himself had survived the last battle, but he understood the truth. Humanity could not be defeated through conventional force. Their people rebuilt faster than armies could destroy, adapted to situations no one thought possible, and possessed a spirit that no calculation could counter. The Dominion envoys arrived cautiously, expecting either mercy or punishment. They found both. Mara addressed them calmly. She said that humans would not conquer, but they would not allow threats to persist. "We do not seek to rule your worlds," she said. "We seek only understanding, cooperation, and survival. If you continue to fight against life, you will fail. If you join with us, you will thrive." The Dominion leaders hesitated. Their pride resisted, but the reality was clear. They had no choice but to accept the offer. Slowly, one by one, the remnants of the Dominion began to cooperate. Across the galaxy, other empires began to realize the truth. The trade unions, the League of Scholars, and countless smaller species that had once doubted humanity now asked for guidance. Humans shared knowledge freely. They showed how to repair damaged ships, how to make energy systems efficient, and how to coordinate efforts across vast distances. Every gift was practical, simple, and easy to use, yet it multiplied the abilities of those who received it. Humans taught not by command, but by example. In the outer sectors, explorers discovered worlds that had been abandoned for centuries. Humans traveled to these planets first, building shelters, restoring ecosystems, and creating connections between scattered populations. On each world, they left marks of civilization: tools, buildings, energy stations, and networks for communication. Other species followed, inspired by the human approach. Slowly, the galaxy began to knit itself together under a new order of cooperation and progress. Scholar Varen, who had once been a voice of warning in the Council of Worlds, now observed humanity closely. He traveled between colonies, recording stories of human ingenuity, courage, and kindness. He watched as human engineers repaired a collapsed bridge on a hostile ice world, and how human teachers educated alien children in abandoned schools. He saw humanity working tirelessly, not for wealth or power, but for improvement. Varen knew that the elders had been right. Humanity was the race that could not be resisted. On a small moon near the edge of the Orion sector, humans held a memorial for those lost in the battles against the United Stellar Alliance. The ceremony was quiet but filled with purpose. Captain Iran, now promoted to oversee human fleet strategy, spoke to the assembled crowd. "We honor those who fell, but their sacrifice is not in vain. Their courage has shown the galaxy what it means to endure, to adapt, and to rise again. This is our legacy, and it will not be forgotten." The words were simple, but they carried across the galaxy through human communication networks, reaching every human settlement, every colony, and even the Dominion fleet still recovering. The elders watched silently. From hidden vantage points across the galaxy, they observed humanity's actions. They saw not just the power of their will, but the wisdom with which they used it. The prophecy had been fulfilled. Humanity had not only survived, but had reshaped the galaxy through effort, cooperation, and resilience. No empire could match them in determination. No strategy could halt them. And yet humanity did not seek to dominate through fear. They ruled through example, teaching others what it meant to endure and build. Even the old fleets of the United Stellar Alliance began to change. Captains who had once fought against humans now trained with them. Soldiers who had once attacked human colonies now learned human tactics for survival and coordination. Entire systems began to adopt human methods for governance, trade, and education. Slowly, the galaxy transformed into a network of cooperation, guided by the simple principles humanity had shown: determination, adaptability, and unity. On Earth, humans continued to reach further into space. New fleets were built, new colonies founded, and new explorers sent to the most distant systems. Their ships carried people, knowledge, and hope. Even in uncharted regions, they found worlds with life or resources to nurture. They mapped star lanes, restored dying planets, and created stations where multiple species could meet in peace. Every mission strengthened the galaxy's connection and demonstrated humanity's unstoppable nature. Captain Mara visited one of the oldest human colonies in the Vega Expanse. She observed young engineers working alongside alien crews to repair a station damaged in the earlier battles. Children of multiple species played together in the central courtyard, learning each other's languages and cultures. Mara smiled. She realized that the humans had not only survived conflict, but had created a galaxy where life could flourish, where differences were a source of strength, not division. The Dominion Emperor, once proud and feared, now sent a message to Mara. It was a simple note of respect. He admitted that humanity had surpassed any force he had ever known. He offered a promise of cooperation and rebuilding. Mara accepted, understanding that victory was not measured in destruction but in the ability to change hearts and minds. The Emperor's acknowledgement became a symbol for the galaxy. Even the greatest powers could not resist humanity's will when it was guided by purpose and compassion. Scholar Varen wrote extensively, chronicling humanity's rise. His records were shared with every species. He described not only the battles but the philosophy that guided humanity. He explained how humans turned loss into strength, how they used every challenge to grow, and how they extended aid even to former enemies. Varen concluded that humanity was not just a species but a force of transformation, one that reshaped the galaxy not through fear, but through endurance and example. The Elders, observing from the hidden corners of the galaxy, sent their final message. It was carried through ancient probes and signals reaching every civilization. The message was simple. We warned you of the race born in struggle. You did not believe. Now you see, nothing resists the human will. For centuries, these words had been ignored. Now they were understood. Every species that had once mocked, doubted, or fought against humanity now recognized their truth. Humans had achieved what no one expected. They had proven that will, effort, and unity could surpass even the greatest empires. The galaxy itself seemed to respond. Trade routes once dangerous became safe. Colonies once abandoned thrived, and knowledge spread faster than ever before. Humanity had created a network of life and cooperation that no force could resist. In the central hub of human exploration, the Horizon Fleet commanded the movement of thousands of ships across multiple sectors. Mara stood on the bridge looking at the vast starfield stretching before her. She did not feel pride or arrogance. She felt responsibility. Every world, every colony, every life depended on the decisions made by humanity. They had been given power, but with it came the duty to protect, to teach, and to endure. The galaxy was no longer divided. The old empires had learned humility. The smaller species had learned courage. Humanity had shown that even a single race born in struggle could change everything. Across systems, children of many species looked to the humans as guides. Teachers taught human methods. Engineers copied their designs. Leaders studied their strategy. Humanity had not conquered through fear. They had conquered through inspiration, determination, and unyielding will. As Mara prepared for the next mission, a new star system appeared on the charts. It was unexplored, filled with mysteries and potentially dangerous. Humans would go there first. Explorers would map it, engineers would build stations, and scientists would study its secrets. They would meet any life forms they found with respect and curiosity. Humanity's work had only begun. The galaxy had learned the lesson of the Elders, and now it would follow the example set by those from Earth. The Elders, finally satisfied, began to withdraw from active observation. Their purpose had been fulfilled. They had sent their warning across the stars, watched it unfold, and seen humanity rise above all expectations. The prophecy had been completed and the galaxy had changed forever. In the vast darkness of space, human ships moved forward, carrying life, knowledge, and hope. No force could stop them. No obstacle could halt their progress. Their will was